Well, welcome back to Brands Hatch, everybody, for the second race coming up that we've got for you this weekend for the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. We saw a brilliant race earlier on, which on the charge to the flag, Steve Wood was in second place coming up to the final corner, but he got a great run coming out of Clearways and Clark Curve and just snuck the win by what at the time, if you were joined us for that one, was 1/1000th of a second. It was identified on the timing system. Subsequently, as I did say at the time, the data has been looked into. He still took the win, but it's been extended to the colossal margin of 65 thousandths of a second. Piers Pryor joins me in the commentary box and is largely going to lead this race. Piers, brilliant race. It's great to see such a close finish.
Yeah, and of course the monumental gap between second and third place of 3/10 as well. So it's not exactly like it was a well spread out race, but good to see also a mixture of cars. The 996 in first, the Cayman in second, then a 997 in third place.
Yeah, and I mentioned in that first race as well, you know, the Cayman is a lighter car with less power. The 996 and 997 are slightly heavier and therefore are allowed more power in the championship. So they're all equated to be even. But what you can't account for is, and particularly on a hot day as well, is that the lighter cars are going to use their tyres differently to the heavier cars.
Yes, potentially on a hotter day, the lighter cars might be slightly more favourable. But maybe at the start and end of the season, when the track temperature is down, it might be more favourable to have a slightly heavier car with more power, because then you can get the temperature in the tyres quicker. But today, lovely spring day. Track temperature I would estimate between 20 and 30 degrees. Air temp 15 degrees. So getting the temperature in the tyres, I imagine, is probably not going to be an issue today. In fact, if anything, keeping the drivers cool is going to be the main thing.
And commentary box temperature about 40 degrees, I would say.
Only 40 in here, is it?
Well, you're stood the side that's in the sun, you see. I'm the more experienced commentator, so I made sure I grabbed the side that would be in the shade.
Yeah, I thought you would, Mark. But
schoolboy error, Pryor.
You know, I've got a lot to learn, Mark. Although you did say I was the one in charge of the commentator's curse, so that means that I potentially am a proper commentator now. You heard it here first.
So let's guide you through the grid then, the way that they line up, based on second fastest times from qualifying. It's Bill Caley who starts from pole position, and race one winner Steve Wood that just nipped him on the line, that lines up alongside Pete Morris and Mark McAleer are there on row number 2, the two former champions. James Caley has another former champion, Chris Dyer, for company on row number 3, and it's Andrew Muggeridge and Kevin Harrison that line up there on row number 4. The next row of the grid, which is row number 5, is the number 74 car of Jim Bryan that has got the number 22 car of Pete Evans for company. And then we move on to row number 6, number 44. That's the first of the Class 2 cars in the hands of Andrew Porter, lining up alongside another Class 2 car, Paul Simpson. Watch out for those two. They'll be fighting for the lead of Class 2. Ross Morris is there on the inside of row number 7, and Christian Walker lines up alongside with Andy Toon and Paul Seagrave on row number 8. The 9th row of the grid, on the inside it's Oliver Chatham and Harry Rice sits to his side, and then on row number 10 it's Angus Archer and Darren Labette, who had problems and suffered a broken toe link in the race earlier on. Hopefully he will be back out there. Julian Morris sits there on the inside of row number 11, and for company he's got Carl Hazleton. And it's Shiraz Khan who is on the inside of row number 12, and alongside him is Brian Richardson. Then the last row of the grid, that will be. So beautiful sunny conditions here at Brands Hatch. It's such a shame always that Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli are all done and dusted on one day, because it'd be nice to see them over 2 days. They do that next time out there when they go to Anglesey. They complete over 2 days.
I must say the season for the Porsche Club Championship is great as well, because Anglesey is another great circuit. I actually drove it for the first time not long ago, and it's...
Is that the Formula Ford you were out in?
Yeah, the historic Formula Ford, but it's such a good circuit, and along with Brands GP as well. These are classic, old school, really fun circuits to drive, but also really suit these cars, actually, I'd say. They're both great circuits. And also the good thing about Anglesey and I suppose here to a certain extent is Anglesey you can definitely overtake with a couple of big hairpins. Overtaking maybe not quite so easy here at Brands GP, but we've seen in the previous race and also in the Boxster race just gone that it's definitely possible, and largely due to if someone making a mistake more than forcing a move, because you know with the circuit there's not really any straight parts of this circuit. Maybe they'll run down to Hawthorns or down Pilgrim's Drop and up towards Hawthorns is straight, but the rest of the lap you're turning, and it's so easy to misplace your car by 6 inches, which means you're then on the marbles, or you just touch the grass, or you brake 5 meters too late and it costs you a second. And that's the most successful drivers around here will be the ones that can just bang in the lap times, lap after lap, sector after sector, corner after corner, take it one corner at a time, and that'll be the way to have a successful race. As we can see the cars beginning to line up on the grid, the last car's coming around the last corner now. On the front of the grid, they'll be thinking, right, let's get this race underway. It looks like there's a space missing, or is it?
The space that's missing, sort of mid-pack, is where Colin Tester should have been. Colin had the off if he didn't join us for race 1. The reigning champion had an off in his Porsche Boxster at Druids and brought about what was ultimately a red flag. So yeah, understandably, haven't got time to get the car repaired. Yeah,
of course, the team would have been working very hard with that, but Colin Tester having a fairly sizable accident at Druids, but glad to hear that he is okay. The barrier is fixed, the car will be fixed, I'm sure, but just not today, unfortunately, so he's going to miss out on this one. It looks like everyone is on the grid just waiting for the green light at the back of the field, and we'll get the 5-second board imminently, but getting these cars away from the line as they do is a great start from pole position from Caley. Unfortunately, once again, from the start of the race, from the front row, that yellow number 996 not quite getting away with Steve Wood, although he's going around the outside of Paddock Hill. Still holding it around the outside 2x2 into Druids, as we see some fighting further down the pack as well. Can he go all the way around the outside to maintain the top 2 positions? Not quite this time. And we're going almost 3 wide further down the field. We're just looking at the fight further down as we come back to the lead group, who are almost nose to tail between 1st, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th place. And that is the number 3 there going up the inside of Druids corner. That is Ross Morris with a great move, and we can also see the grey car number 69 also making a move. That's Oliver Chatham. As we go 3 wide into Surtees, who's going to come out on top? Oh, and a car off in the background, a bit of contact. 52 coming together, Darren Lebet. I didn't see who we made contact with, but he's hopefully will continue on from there. It was only a small amount of contact. The car looks like it's undamaged as far as I can see. Yeah, Darren Lebet was a driver that had contact at the start of race number 1, or a broken toe link, and was stopped down below our commentary position. So it's been a bit of a rotten day really for Darren Lebet so far. Promised so much, didn't it, at the start? Yeah, it did, and they're still fighting on as we go around the back section of the GP loop. Again, the clouds just coming in now, so track temperature potentially starting to fall a little bit, as we still see very, very close in the middle of the pack. Number 7 having a look up the inside. That is Christian Walker trying to force a move on the back of the circuit. It's not normally a place you can make an overtake. However, the first lap is, of course, where you'll want to do that, as where you want to make them as many places as you can, because not many parts of the race where they're as close together as they are now. Yeah, that was the champion that was behind him, pushing him along, the 2014 champion Andy Toon. I think Andy Toon might lose out a little bit there. So over the start-finish line come the leaders. So we are now completing the first lap of the race. You can see almost 3 wide again as they come over the start-finish line. Nice to see the sun glinting off the cars. It really is a beautiful day here at Brands Hatch. We haven't had many this year, have we? We haven't had, and it's side by side, still going to Paddock Hill. We're going to make it 3 wide up to Druids once again. So the camera cuts back to the front of the field. We've got the number 9 going slightly wide on the exit of that corner, but it's yeah, this looks like the front groups, so the top 7 or so are just breaking away ever so slightly, but this battle down sort of the lower end of the top 10 is still raging on, as we see doing defensive into Graham Hillbend. That is number 54, which is 54? Yes, 44. That might be Andrew Porter potentially. Yeah, who's leading Group 2 at the moment, so that's the Class 2 leader, Andrew Porter. He leads that class currently, but he has got, or did have at least, queued up behind him as they came over the start-finish line, the car that's second in that class at the moment, which is Paul Simpson in the number 88 car. So he's trying to keep an eye for what's going on there for 11th and 12th places, because that will be the lead battle for the group at the moment. There they come, yeah, up towards Hawthorne now, with the number 44 car pushing hard. Now, he didn't quite grab the win in the class earlier on, so he'll be hugely keen to try and make sure he does it this time through. Yeah, so we've settled down ever so slightly now as we head around the back of the circuit. A move here, that's Porter once again looking at the inside, making it stick this time. On the number 7, he drops a wheel on the grass. Is he going to keep it on the circuit through Sheen? Yes, just about keeping it on the circuit, but that would have been a very, very hairy moment in the car, I'm sure, because you don't want to be touching the car at those speeds with the limited runoff we have here. There's a big wobble as well as from a car on the exit of Sterling's corner. But no, up the inside the last corner is not normally a manoeuvre done there. You can see the bright green and black car there. We're looking further back now in the field, just fighting all the way down this 27 car, or 26 car grid now, I suppose it is, isn't it? Yeah, with a couple of retirees along the way. So they're just threading his way through it over the start-finish line, looking to try and pick up places. Is one of the Boxsters, and I don't
if it's quite going to make it to hang on to that particular place. So we'll have to wait and see. Oh, somebody running very, very, very wide coming out of the corner. Who was that, Piers? You caught it.
No, I just saw that. As you can see, 80 up the dive up on the inside. That's Paul Simpson on Andrew Porter.
So that's for the change of class 2, that will be.
It looked like Porter had some dust on the outside of his left-hand tyres, which suggests to me that he dropped 2 wheels exit on the exit of Paddock Hill, where the gravel is right up to the circuit, and the telltale signs there, and clearly struggling with a little bit of grip, getting past for the class lead there. As you can see, the fans still basking in the sunshine on the inside of Surtees corner.
Here comes Jim Bryan down towards Hawthorne Bend. In the background, we are side by side, still in Class 2 by the look of things. That was number 45 car, which is one of the cars that runs in Class 1. Paul Seagrave trying to fend off one of the Class 2 cars. So arguably the Class 2 cars are that little bit slower. They also have less tyre allocation, but for the moment we're getting a good mixture. Oh, 2 wheels on the grass there through Dingledale for Jim Bryan. He's now got the number 88 Class 2 car of Paul Simpson sitting right behind him, but then more and more and more cars all queuing up, and this is going to be for places sort of 12th backwards at the moment, with 20 minutes of the 25 that are scheduled still remaining. Yeah, I love the Jim Bryan getting stuck in. He was almost getting overtaken on the previous lap into the last corner, now fending off some other drivers. He's right in the action there, and that shot of them going through, is it Sheen? It's Sheen, isn't it? Yeah, Sheen, where they take the curb on the inside. It's such a satisfying corner, and in these cars you can see they can take quite a lot of curb, as we have pressure now for second place. That is, of course, the number 77 in the yellow car, Steve Wood, trying to get back the position he lost at the start, as he did a bit of a tardy start from the outside, but he's right on the back of our second place driver now. Is it Morris? Yeah, Pete Morris, multiple champion in this category, has raced Porsches for a huge amount of years, also raced in the likes of the GT Cup Championship and briefly in British GT as well, did Pete Morris, but he's been racing Porsches for donkey's years in reality. His son Ross also on the grid, so he sits there in second, Steve Wood in third, James Caley, the second member of the Caley family, sitting there in fourth place, Kevin Harrison in fifth place, but under pressure from another former champion, the number 14 car in hands of Yorkshireman Mark McAleer, that sits behind. So wherever you look, squabbles going on, and then we wait a while and the next batch will include all of the Class 2 cars will come together, but Pete Morris for the moment sticking his elbows out, hanging on to second. Yes, Wood still pressing on, trying to force him either a mistake or an overtake, trying to get that place back, as he can see our leader Bill Caley running away at the front of the field. Touched the brakes actually, I saw from Caley going down towards the last corner. It's a bit strange, maybe just pumping the pedal up a little bit. I don't imagine they'll be getting brake fade this early in the race, but you never know. Brake fade, or is it just bringing the pads back into line on the caliper again, maybe? Yeah, potentially. Maybe just getting himself prepared for the last corner, because of course you want the brake to be as solid and as precise as you can be, and a lot of the drivers will do that. They'll be flat out on the straights, and just before they hit the brakes with their right foot, they'll pump it up a little bit with their left foot, and you might see the brakes flash on a little bit there. Looks like that's Cayman in second place of Morris. It's got good speed at minimum speed corners, the medium speed corners, so looked pretty strong out the last corner, which means he's not going to run into turn one, but the start of the second sector with that long drop down to Pilgrim's Drop is a strength of the 996, but we can see further down the field some side-by-side action, almost 3 wide as the number 7 tries to take advantage. That is Christian Walker. Oh no, Paul Seagrave. Yeah, Seagrave spun on the exit. You can see him just lose it as we go down the dip at Paddock Hill, and once the rear started going around, it was not easy to catch, and fortunately lost him quite a few places. Yeah, it's always difficult, isn't it? A rear end car where you've got all of the weight over the back axle. Once it starts to get away, you can't afford to lift off really, but equally as much you don't want to be throttling up. It's a very fine art, isn't it, trying to catch a Porsche? It's like flying a kite really, isn't it, at the rear of the car, you know, balancing it on the throttle, and you do have to drive these cars a little bit on the throttle, bit of rotation. You need to start the rotation early in the corner, because if you go into the corner with understeer, you're very unlikely to be able to overcome that on the exit unless you're burning through those rear tyres. But this battle for second place has turned into a three-way battle for second place as the number 11 of James Caley joins the party. And Pete Morris was a little bit slow coming out of Stirling, which offer up a glimmer of hope for Steve Wood, but he can't quite unpick the multiple champion at the moment, so the Strada back car still ahead of the Auto Farm prepared machine, and with the best seat in the house is James Caley, who sits there in third position at the wheel of the 997. So it's 997 from 996 from 997, whilst the Cayman leads the way. So again, case in point, it works the way that they equate and try and equalise the performance of all of these different models of Porsche. Yeah, the effective BOP or balance of performance is clearly very strong in this race. They're still pressuring into Druids, as we can see there. Wood right on the rear bumper, no gap almost whatsoever between the cars. You can see they know, this front lot know exactly the length of their cars,
No margin for error whatsoever. You can see him trying some different lines there as well. Wood in that yellow car. He's gone wider on the entry to try and cut back and have a stronger exit. It looks like it's working as we hopefully cut towards the drop down. Pilgrims drop up towards Hawthorns. Hopefully, yes, as you can see, he's got quite a slight overlap, which will put the second place driver of Morris just slightly offline. Can he effect a move this time? Not quite. That Cayman in second place, still got very, very good medium speed corner grip, so he's sort of able to carry a bit more speed into the corners is Morris in second place, which then just allows him that little bit of breathing room just on the exit.
Yep, so for the moment, he's just about doing enough to hang on to it. I say Pete's been around this championship for a good number of years, as have many of the drivers, really. And they might have taken a slight sabbatical and then come back, but Pete Morris, or the Morris family name, has been a constant part of Porsche Club Motorsport for a very good number of years. He knows all the tricks in the book, really, does Pete. When to hold people up, how to sort of park it on the apex and get off the corners, how to lure people into making a mistake. And at the moment, he's having to use all of those years of experience, thumbing through all of that experience he's got, every single page of it, to try and work out as to what he wants to do. So
yes.
Over the start finish zone now go up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Pete Morris still clinging on to second. Steve Wood as yet just coming up a little bit short.
Did you see that slide he had through Paddock Hill? He was pretty much on opposite lot through the whole corner. As we see further down the field, that is the green and black car, of course, is having to defend once again. Further down, we see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 car train pretty much for the sort of start of the teams, the 12th, 13th, 14th. As Brian, wasn't it, in the green car, followed closely by Porter and Simpson, who actually changed in that last lap. Porter finding his way through. You see 5 cars in one shot there. You can see the speed they carry into Druids. It's quite impressive. They've got a lot of grip on these slick Pirelli tyres.
Yeah, I mean, these are quick machines. You think, the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, there's a couple of slower sections to it, but they're still averaging the best part of 87 miles an hour under race conditions. The fastest lap of the race is knocking on 90 miles an hour in these cars. So, you're pressing on, aren't you? If you're averaging 90, what are you doing out the back?
Oh, yeah, I mean, averaging 90 miles an hour. Think about how, you're on the motorway, you get to a slight corner and, they think, oh, this is going a bit quickly. And you're doing 75 or 70. Well,
70.
Should be doing 70. I said you, not me. I, of course, always drive at the speed limit. My car barely goes above 70 mark. Yours is a bit more capable than mine. But anyway, these cars are, through these corners out the back with only a few metres of grass before barriers, as we see him move up the inside of Westfield, backing out wisely there, I think, as a late lunge into Westfield. It's not a long braking zone. It kind of funnels down on the exit. And, so Brian's getting overtaken now in Sheen. Overtakes all throughout the field here. Brian going up the inside, managing to hold around the outside, keeping that position just about. As we now continue on to the last corner of the circuit. Back line astern. We cut back now to the lead of the race. Still in first position, we have, of course, as we have Caley, followed by Morris, Woods, the other Caley, James Caley, then Harrison in 5th, McAleer in 6th, Dyer 7th, Muggeridge 8th, Toon 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Evans, all in Class 1. Then, of course, in 12th place is our first of the Class 2 drivers, is Simpson. Everything just settling down a little bit now. Everyone's sort of thinking, right, halfway through the race pretty much. Really taking stock, potentially feeling how the car is feeling, how the tyres are getting on, sizing up their competition. Gaps starting to open out a little bit, but I'm sure that Wood will be trying to effect a pass, as he has been doing it all race on Morris. As of course Morris got past at the start. Wood, a couple of, the starts haven't been the best for Wood in that bright yellow car that we're looking as he piles the pressure on once again. That car is clearly fast around the middle section of the lap. Thing is, it doesn't matter how close you get into here, it's hard to send it up the inside of Sterling. It's again a very, very tight line into there. The circuit is banked, so you can't really throw it at the inside, and a lap car getting out the way. That's one of the Boxsters doing a very good job of just signifying that they are going to stay to the inside of the circuit and not getting involved in this battle. Can Wood get past Morris? He's looked pretty much every lap that we've watched so far into Paddock Hill. We saw that slight slide from Wood a couple of laps ago. He's setting him up. Morris going defensive once again. Wood going wide but getting a wobble, and that's going to leave him vulnerable to Caley. James Caley behind, who's got a good exit. Wood's going to have to go defensive and does. That's going to break up this. That'll be a bit of breathing room for Morris in second place now, as he's got the biggest gap he's had so far in the race, I think about 2 car lengths. But now Caley's trying to capitalise on this fight. This will all play into the hands, though, of our leader, who is Bill Caley. Of course, Bill in the Cayman is soldiering on with the fastest lap of the race as it stands, a 1:38.8. Currently, the fastest lap of the race is about 2 or 3 tenths faster than the rest of the grid. But last lap, actually, they were slightly slower than even Morris and Wood behind, so the gap at the front even coming down ever so slightly, only by a tenth or so. But that 2-second buffer is just about enough as we head further back down the field to the Class 2 drivers. That is number 88 we're looking at, which is a Paul Simpson. He's looking to make up as many places as he can. As a side-by-side in the back, we have 3 and 7. Number 3, Ross Morris, again in Class 2, fighting for position with Christian Walker. At the moment, it is the number 7 Walker ahead of Morris. Settling in as they go up the hill once again through Surtees. Before heading down, Pilgrims drop the fastest part of the circuit. We're looking back to the middle of the race now, or the middle of the circuit. That's the number 5 there, the Boxster. Further down the field, the number 5, Brian Richardson, didn't have the best race, or didn't have the best qualifying session. His second fast lap was only good enough for 27th, but he's still circulating around there, enjoying the a great day out on the circuit. As this is once again, we're looking at Wood challenging for the second place at the outside of Paddock Hill. We're still looking at this race. I was also trying to keep our eye on 2 battles at once. This is the 88 of Paul Simpson, putting pressure on Porter and the number 44, both Class 2 cars. We've got a battle for second place in Class 1 and a battle for first place in Class 2, which has been raging on for the whole race as it will continue to do so, I imagine, for the remaining 9.5 minutes. These Porsche cars in the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli sounding great as they fly past the comms box here on the start-finish straight. Everyone going slightly defensive into Paddock Hill, not wanting to open the door for the car behind. Still line of stone as we've seen it. I think there's a lock up there. That was Brian locking up his left front tyre going into Druids, and that's left him vulnerable now to the car right behind him, Toon. These are both Class 1 cars. This is for the final place in the top 10 between 9th and 10th between those two. Managed to hold them off. Holding off Toon is Brian just for now. We've seen him. Brian's been in the action pretty much the whole race so far, ebbing and flowing, fighting, going up and down the grid. He saw he had a racy start, lost a couple of places, then gained a couple back as well. We turn our attention back to a different part of the grid. We see the shade of the trees going through Sheen corner. No, it's not Sheen, that was Sterling's corner. Potentially keeping the circuit a bit cooler, so it might be a little bit less grip there. And also under the trees, you always get a bit more potentially dew or sap on the road. But this battle for the lead has definitely come down. It's now 3 for the lead, with only half a second covering the top 3. But still, the only defensive driver is Morris. Peter Morris still defending it into turn 1 from Wood. Maybe he's realised that if he can defend Paddock Hill, then there's not many other places that Wood can have an opportunity to go through. But Wood looking around the outside of Druids. I don't think that's going to work this time around. It's a long way around there. And I'm sure that Morris would show him the grass on the exit if he was to try. But now we have a 3-way fight for the lead. That last lap from the leader, Caley, yes, Bill Caley, was a little bit slower than the group behind her, 1:40.361, whereas both Morris, Wood and Caley, or both Morris and Wood, were in the 39.6s, so a good 7/10 a lap slower. I don't know whether he made a mistake, it would have been off camera, or whether the balance of pace at the moment is shifting ever so slightly in the favour of Morris and Wood in 2nd and 3rd place. This is going to stay a battle of 3 for the overall lead and the lead of Class 1 for now, I imagine, as again Morris goes defensive into Westfield, just trying not to allow a sniff for Wood. Wood still can't find a way through. This is a great defensive drive from Peter Morris in 2nd place. He hasn't let Wood have a proper go as of yet.
It's an experienced drive. It's a drive of somebody that's been around motorsport for a good number of years. And Steve Wood is not a spring chicken either. He's done a lot of motor racing over the years. So the two of them trying to see whether they can unlock the door. But at the moment, they're almost neutralising each other, aren't they? And the one we need to watch out for at the moment is James Caley, who's falling ever more into the clutches of the cars behind, isn't he? Kevin Harrison and Mark McAleer, the two long-time Porsche racers, are slowly edging up onto that second green and gold car. Yeah,
it was at one point a 3-way battle for 2nd place. It's now turned into a 3-way battle for 3rd to 1st, but then the battle for 4th place is becoming a 3-way battle. So it's all sort of ebbing and flowing as the pace changes with the different cars and classes and the tyres and the setups and the drivers, and potentially just even confidence as the drivers at the front are going almost faster every single lap. Actually, no, I say that. The last laps are going away ever so slightly as the tyres are slightly overheating. We're about a second away from our fastest lap of the race now.
I'm just looking at what's going on in Class 2 as well. Paul Simpson has about a second and a half advantage in the lead of Class 2 at the moment, running in 12th place in the number 88 car. The number 7 car's not that far off him, which is Christian Walker's car.
Oh.
There is the spin, and into the gravel, I'm afraid, has gone James Caley, and that looks like that is the exit of Surtees, is it, where he's gone off?
Yeah, you just mentioned that. I think it is the exit of Surtees. You just mentioned that he was slightly falling into the clutches of the group behind, which was Harrison and McAleer, who were in 5th and 6th, who will now inherit 4th and 5th places respectively. But yeah, Caley potentially struggling a little bit with the car or the tyres, or maybe something was overheating, and it's just pushing a bit too hard has led to that mistake. So I imagine we'll probably end up with a safety car at some point. But for now, we race until the safety car board. So this is potentially the last opportunity for Wood to get past Morris that he's been trying to do the whole race. But it's still 3 for the lead.
Yeah, well, if we get a safety car come out, we're not going to get that many more racing laps. You'd be wise to throw everything at it if you've got anything left in reserve, really, before that safety car comes out, because it's a bit of a moot point as to whether the race would end up under safety car, if that's the call. So over the start-finish line comes Bill Caley. Pete Morris still trying to attack and defend from Steve Wood at the same time. And as they come over the start-finish line with 5 minutes to go,
that is the
checkered flag comes out early. So rather than go safety car and finish under safety car, we may as well checkered flag it now. So not surprised it came out early, Piers.
No, a very good decision from the stewards. So I think even if you did send it to a safety car, we probably wouldn't get any more racing laps. So no, a great race, another action filled and close, and not too dramatic this time. Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. So yes, I enjoyed that one. I hope the drivers did enjoy blatting around the Brands Hatch GP circuit here in Kent.
So it's the first win of the season for Bill Caley. He'll be delighted with that one, and he certainly won't be sorry to see that checkered flag come out early, because it's another few laps where he didn't have to defend in reality. We're just waiting for the Class 2 winner to come over the start-finish line, and through comes to win Class 2. It was indeed the number 88 car of Paul Simpson that hung on to the Class 2 win in the end by just a tenth of a second from the number 7 car in the hands of Christian Walker. Christian had been closing towards the latter stages, but just with enough in hand there was Paul Simpson to hang on to the win in Class 2. The crowd are pleased. Big thumbs up from some of the supporters, no doubt of one of the drivers that are there up on the run in towards Druids Corner. The cars will be ushered back in towards the pit lane area. They don't do a full slowdown lap on the Grand Prix circuit. They come to the end of the Cooper Straight and then go back into the back of the pit lane at the end of sort of the Cooper Straight through Surtees, where you can see the marshals there waving the yellow flag. So it saves us a bit of time with cars doing a slowdown lap around the whole Grand Prix circuit, because it's a really tight timetable today. The fastest lap of the race also went the way of Bill Caley, so he'll pick up the extra championship points that exists for the fastest lap. So I think we've pretty much had everybody through to take the checkered flag. The field of cars heading down the pit lane. It's not the final Porsche racing action we'll get here today, because we will be bringing you the Porsche Boxster Cup race a little bit later on over the course of this afternoon. But as far as the cars are concerned in Class 1 and Class 2 for the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli, they are done and dusted for the day, and will next take to the circuit in North Wales, Anglesey, over the course of the weekend of the 20th and 21st of May. And I would imagine on the totting up of the championship points, this is just me, I would imagine Steve Wood now is leading the championship in Class 1. In Class 2, that's going to take a bit more maths to try and work out, but I think, yeah, probably Steve Wood leading the championship overall. But that's just me trying to work out where he's finished in these two races compared to Donington, and where everybody else relative to him has finished. So I think he's probably there for the moment. So a little bit more clearing up to be done. In the meantime, we can bring you the results. Bill Caley claims the win, his first of the season, from Pete Morris, a hard-fought second place, with Steve Wood finishing in third place. Kevin Harrison was fourth, ahead of Mark McAleer and Chris Dyer, who were there in fifth and sixth place. Andrew Muggeridge was there in seventh, and Jim Bryan finished in eighth place. Ninth place was Andy Toon, and completing the top 10 was a number 22 car of Peter Evans. Outside of the top 10, in 11th place, that's the Class 2 winner, which was Paul Simpson, who only just made it over the start-finish line. No, Christian Walker was right on his coattails. He finished second in Class 2 and 12th overall. Ross Morris, 13th, ahead of Angus Archer and Oliver Chatham, who were 14th and 15th, respectively. Julian Morris was there in 16th place. Then it was Paul Seagrave in 17th place. Shiraz Khan was there in 18th. And James Caley, the one that brought about the early checkered flag, will be potentially classified, but will be a lap down in 19th place, ahead of Cole Hazelton, who completes the top 20. Outside of the top 20, Richard Lebet had problems with that contact early on up at Surtees and therefore finishes in 21st position. 22nd goes the way of the number 5 car of Brian Richardson, and then there were problems throughout the course of that race for the number 44 car of Andrew Porter and also for Harry Rice, who was 5 laps adrift in the end. And that's the second and final race we've got for you at Brands Hatch for the Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. Thanks for joining us for that one. We will be bringing you more Porsche action later on today with the Boxster Cup. But from everybody at Brands Hatch, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.